Hello once again, watchers of Good Movies. My name is Nick Pell, and this is once again coming from my apartment. Now today, we're going to be talking about my top 10 films of 2015. A few disclaimers before we get started. I have not seen every film that came out this year. I had no intention of seeing every film that came out this year. Most of the films from January to April, I completely missed because school is a thing. And so, I have seen most of the stuff that came out between May and December. As you've seen on this channel, I've seen 100 films this year, which is more than I've ever thought that I would actually see in a year. Also, keep in mind, this is my personal preferred movies. These are films which move me, which got me excited, which made me tear up and get really emotional about stuff. So these films aren't necessarily films that I gave fantastic reviews for. A lot of these films have their own issues and their own problems, but there are films which I really enjoyed. I'm planning to buy most of these films on Blu-ray when they come out. I already own some of them on Blu-ray because they have already come out. And yeah, so this is my top 10 list of 2015. Let's get started. Number 10 on this list is Steve Jobs. This is a film which came out back in October of this year. It stars Michael Fassbender in the lead role as Steve Jobs, and it's a very dialogue-driven film, which I was just fascinated by the entire time I was watching it. It's split into 3 different acts, takes place between 3 different product premieres that Steve Jobs is doing over the course of his career, and I just found it to be an incredibly insightful and very, very interesting film, just seeing how he kind of transforms from a guy who cares nothing about family and about his daughter into just his transformation over the years, and seeing just how he changed and just the differences that the world has kind of made for him. So yeah, Steve Jobs, I loved it absolutely, and it is my number 10 film of the year. Number 9 on this list is Spotlight. This is a film which pulled at some heartstrings and was kind of uncomfortable to watch at some points. The film is about this Boston Globe Spotlight team who investigated these Catholic priests who were abusing young children sexually, and they revealed this. They uncovered the story, which has sent shockwaves throughout the Catholic Church and throughout the world as more and more of these crimes come out and are realized. And while it was a tough film to watch, the performances were fantastic. Mark Ruffalo gave one of the best performances I've ever seen from him, and the film is just a fantastic watch. I definitely recommend seeing it, and it is my number 9 choice of the year. Number 8 is a film I recently saw, and it is Joy. This is a film which I haven't actually seen on other top 10 lists, but it was a film which captivated me. It had me interested from beginning to end. Jennifer Lawrence delivers a fantastic performance as usual, as we have come to expect from her. And I was just very interested to see how this woman who just has so many things building up on her shoulders that it is tough for her to just unleash her ingenuity and creative vision to create products and become an inventor. And then once she decides to do this, just seeing her journey and the very difficult hardships both from competitors and from her family until she eventually succeeds, maybe. And yeah, I just absolutely was fascinated by this film, and I just couldn't turn away for the whole thing. So yeah, Joy is my number 8 film of the year. My number 7 film is one that I saw no trailers for before going into it. I think it's one of the very few films, if not the only film, that I went into the theater not knowing anything about it. I had zero clue outside of maybe just the poster and very small things that I've heard from other people. But that is Room. Room was a film which I wasn't expecting to enjoy as much as I did. I thought I was going to be stuck in this very small area, and it's just going to show these 2 people, this mother and her son, their daily lives in this room. I thought that's what the whole film was going to be. No, very different, because once they get out of the room and the film becomes an exploration of their different reactions. We have her son Jack, who is experiencing the world for the first time. He has seen these things that he once thought were fiction. He thought that they were unreal. They never thought that he would actually see trees and the sky and these things which he's only seen on TV. You see his reaction, and then you also see the mother re-experiencing these things, and they have 2 very different reactions to the situation, and I was just fascinated by this entire film, and I thought that the ending just capped it off so well, and I have yet to be more satisfied by an ending to a movie this year. So yeah, Room is my number 7 choice. Number 6 is a film which I've seen top the top 10 lists that I've seen so far, and that is The Martian. This is a film with Matt Damon, stuck on Mars, trying to survive. He has to science the shit out of his situation in order to survive, and it's a film with drama. It has comedy, and it was a film which had me very, very interested. I'm not a science person. Many of my friends and my professors can tell you that, and yet I was very interested to see how Matt Damon was going to survive on Mars and the different sciencey ways he uses to do that. And I just found it to be a fantastic film, a very fun film to watch, and definitely worthy of my number 6 choice. And now we're into the top 5 films of the year. These are the films which gave me the most joy and pleasure watching them. Maybe they're not the most well received or the most critically acclaimed films of the year, but they're the films which I just walked out of the theater with a smile on my face every time I watch them. And I've seen some of these more than twice, so there's that. Number 5 film of the year is The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. I have read Mockingjay the book. I've read the whole Hunger Games trilogy. Dig into my channel if you want to find my reviews of those. So I knew what to expect from this final installment. It is the part of the book, Mockingjay, which is the war. We see finally Katniss leading the rebels against the Capitol, against Snow. We see basically a Hunger Games situation play out, but on a city-wide level. And it was just very fun to watch. I enjoyed it immensely. And while it has some slight issues, which I did acknowledge in my review, I had a blast watching this film, and it's definitely worthy of my number 5 choice. Number 4 is maybe one that people who watch my videos regularly weren't really expecting, and that is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. In my review, I criticized a lot about this movie because I think I was expecting too much from it. I had an idea of what it was going to be in my head, and it did not match those expectations. When I saw it a second time, just like a week or so later, I knew what to expect. I was able to sit down and just really, really enjoy the movie, and that's what happened. I really, really enjoyed this movie the second time around, and it's easily a fantastic film. It's a reinventing of the Star Wars franchise, and I am really excited to see what happens with both Rogue One and Episode 8 in the coming years, and as well as just every other Star Wars film that's coming out. And so yeah, Star Wars: Force Awakens, great performances. I was captivated by the story, and as a Star Wars fan, not a diehard Star Wars fan, but as a Star Wars fan, I really enjoyed this movie, and it's definitely worthy of my number 4 spot. Now the top 3 films of the year are ones that I kind of swapped around a lot when I was making this list, but number 3 ended up being The Hateful Eight. This is the last review and last movie that I saw of 2015, and it was fantastic. It starts off a bit slow, it's very dialogue driven and very dialogue heavy, but once it gets into just the mystery aspect of it and just these fantastic performances all around, Samuel L. Jackson delivers one of his best performances in years, and I was just captivated by it. The finale had me on the edge of my seat, and I could not look away from the screen for at least 2/3 of the film. And yeah, it's just a fantastic movie. One of Quentin Tarantino's best in my opinion, and it's definitely worthy of my number 3 spot. Number 2. This is a film which was at the top of my list for a very long period of time, ever since it was at my number 1 spot over the summer, and that is Inside Out. This is a film which decides to focus on what goes on in a person's head. It personifies emotions, joy, sadness, anger, disgust, and fear, and it does this beautifully. You get to see all these emotions play out within the human character Riley, and see what happens when you don't have joy and sadness in your life, and seeing eventually the necessity of being sad. It's okay to be sad. A lot of our culture blocks out the idea that you need sadness, and yet this film embraces that idea. And yeah, it was a fantastic film. It had me in tears. I watched it recently and it's still fantastic. And yeah, Inside Out is easily one of Pixar's best films in years, and it's definitely worthy of my number 2 spot on this list. Now you may be asking yourself, what is his number 1 choice for the year? What is the film which gave me an experience unlike any other film this year? All I can say is hail Macbeth. Macbeth played by Michael Fassbender. In this film, he has capped off both ends of my list. This film, which is an adaptation of the Shakespeare play, the Shakespeare classic, which I had not read at all before going to see this film. I've read a fair amount of Shakespeare stuff in the past in classes in school. That helped a lot with being familiar with the Shakespearean dialogue, with knowing kind of how to interpret it, and I was just so engaged in this film. It opens up with this huge war scene and then the finale, and then as the film goes on you see Macbeth slowly grow into madness as he is convinced that he is going to have his throne stolen from him. And you just the final act of this film just blew me away. It was fantastic, and I was just so enveloped and so engrossed. Like I said, I don't know if that's the right word, but I was that in this film more than anything else this year. It had me just amazed by everything, special effects, the music. I've been listening to the soundtrack for this film in my car for the last week. It is fantastic, and yeah, I can't praise this film enough. It is easily, I think, one of Michael Fassbender's best films that he's ever done, if not the best film he's ever done. And I absolutely loved Macbeth. It is easily my film of the year. I walked out of the theater, I think, knowing that that was my film of the year, and nothing else that I've seen since or before has beaten it. So yeah, Macbeth, my film of the year of 2015. This is my list of top 10 films of 2015 that I liked. These are the films that I enjoyed more than any other films this year, and I definitely recommend checking out all 10 of these if you have the opportunity. But guys, that is my top 10 list of 2015. I'm really looking forward to starting up 2016 with The Revenant and The Forest. Both look fine. One looks better than the other, but we'll see what happens next week when I review those. I'm also going to be doing reviews of Youth and Carol probably sometime in the next week. I wasn't able to get to those before the end of the year. I will still hopefully get to them soon-ish, but no promises with that. I'm on break per se from this stuff right now. But I'm going to have a couple more lists coming to you hopefully in the next couple of days, and those would be the most disappointing films of 2015 and my most anticipated films of 2016. And so, yeah. Look forward to those in the coming days. Like, favorite, comment, and subscribe once again if you so choose. I appreciate it immensely. Make sure to leave your top 10 list down in the comments down below. I'd love to see it. And yeah, as always, my people, my name is Nick Pell, and once again, keep on watching.